Hey folks, Justin from Tackle Tactics. You may have seen our videos on rigging and fishing the ZMan 2-inch grubs and also the 2.5-inch grubs. So after releasing those videos, we had a few people inquire about the 3.5-inch grubs, what jig heads suit it, and how we rig that plastic and how we fish it. Now at first I thought, oh, 3.5-inch grubs, yep, no worries, that'll be a nice quick one. We put it on a 2.0 headlocks, get out there and catch a few flathead. However, when I started to think about the different ways that we rig and fish that plastic, I realised that there is a ton of different options. It is really a good all-round plastic. And in terms of a paddle tail, I would refer it to like a 3-inch minnows. 3-inch minnows is a great all-rounder in a paddle tail for those medium to large predatory species, and a 3.5-inch grubs is the same sort of thing. It's a very universal sort of size that you can catch everything from brim and bass on to flathead and snapper and all sorts of things. So let's have a look at the 3.5-inch grubs in more detail. So in terms of colours, there's a great range of colours available, and also covering those dark, dirty watercolours that I like a pumpkin seed and a bloodworm, watermelon red. You've got those lighter, more natural baitfish colours like our pearl, our blue glimmer sparkle, our smoke hologram. So you've got the dark colours and the natural light colours, and you've also got a couple of fluoro options with our pink glow and our chartreuse sparkle. And again, with the 3.5-inch grubs like the 2-inch and the 2.5-inch, you've got those UV options like your motor oil and your watermelon red and your fluoros, and then you've also got those non-UV colours like bloodworm and pumpkin seed and that sort of thing for those days when it's a really, really bright day, sheer, clear, shallow sort of water. You may want to switch from a UV to a non-UV plastic if you're not getting any sort of action. Otherwise, vice versa, you might want to switch to that UV when you're fishing that dirty water or darker days and that sort of thing. All right, 3.5-inch grubs. The trick with it is people will rig it on a size 1 and they'll go and catch brim. They'll use it as a brim upgrade lure. They might fish it on a 1.0, step up, they might fish it on a 2.0. And it generally tops out at a 2.0 for me in terms of a standard jig head for rigging, and that's perfect for your flathead and snapper and all those sorts of things. So the first time I fished it, I put on the pink glow colour. I went out to catch a flathead. I had a 2.0 jig head. Half a dozen casts in, boom, fish on. I thought, oh, here we go, a flatty. In came a brim, and he had inhaled the whole grub. A few casts later, another brim inhaled the whole grub. So it's not just a larger plastic for flathead and those other sorts of species. It does get utilised a lot as a brim upgrade lure. And you can see quite a big tail on that, lots of movement. But once that tail folds away, it really is just a nice, slim grub's body that a fish can inhale, no problem, and eat. So no problem for a brim to eat it. The other great thing about this plastic is it's a curl tail, so it's an awesome option for beginners and deadly when experienced anglers fish it because of that tail movement. There's so much tail movement in that when it's sinking, when you're retrieving, when it's sitting in the current flow. Just water movement will move that tail around. So loads of action in that plastic means it's always working for you. It's working on the sink, it's working on the pause, it's working on the retrieve. So check out that 3.5-inch grubs if you haven't given it a fish. It's deadly on a stack of different species. Let's have a look at jig heads to fit it. So our Headlock's Finesse fits nice on a 1. If you're looking at it as a brim lure, they can inhale that tail, and that hook is small enough that the whole plastic can still slide up in their gob, no problem. So a size 1 is an excellent option for smaller species. You can step it up to a 1.0 and then step it up to a 2.0. You may want to squeeze a 3.0 in there, but I generally top it out at a 2.0 is pretty good, and that covers your flathead and your snapper and your larger species with that 2.0. So that's in our Headlock's Finesse, and that's our fine wire Gamakatsu hook. So that's all about penetration on light lines and light drag settings. So as we've said in the past, I'll just quickly recap for those that may have missed it. Our Headlock's Finesse has that blue top and the black bottom, and our Headlock's HD has the black top and the blue bottom. You can see an L for light on that one and a H for heavy on the HD, and that's how we tell our Finesse, Headlock's Finesse and our Headlock's HD apart. So a Finesse 1, 1.0 or a 2.0 depending on the target species that you're chasing. And then in a HD, we step up and it's basically the same hook sizes. So again, we'll run our 1, our 1.0 or our 2.0. And it's just the difference in that jig head hook is that fine wire or that heavy wire. So if you're chasing jig head destroying species like snapper, or you're fishing around structure where you really want to put the hurt on, that heavy wire hook is going to be a benefit to you. So 1.10 or 2.0 in our Headlock's Finesse or our Headlock's HD hook. In our Demons, we also have some options with a 1, a 1.0 and a 2.0 in a Demons, and you've got the ability to match that head up with the plastic with a really natural looking head, or you can throw on that pink or that chartreuse if you want that UV pop from your Demons jig head. And that's our painted jig head with eyes. So if you're wanting to make that look a little bit more natural and realistic, swimming that through the water will look like a small bait fish swimming away. So natural head, or you can go with those bright heads to pop and give it that contrast. And then again, another painted head option, we've got our Ned locks. And this plastic does suit the Ned rig style of fishing. That tail will get up and move around and attract fish and trigger strikes. With our Ned locks option, we again have that dark natural color, that black or that green pumpkin, or you can put on a chartreuse or an orange if you want that UV pop. And again, we can contrast that, or we can go natural, or we can add a UV tail to that as well and get that to really, really pop in the water. So suitable plastic for the Ned locks, and I rig that on the size 1 Ned locks, which is available in a 1/10, a 1/6 and also a 1/5 ounce. So you can cover your fishing the shallows and picking the pockets on the flats with that 1/10, or if you want to fish the edges and into deeper drop-offs, you can fish that 1/6 or the 1/5. An interesting way to rig this larger plastic as well, the hidden weight system jig head, where we have that weight concealed on the shank of the hook so that our weight is actually concealed inside that plastic. That's an effective way to target brim. And if you're looking for a larger profile to flick around the pontoons or natural structure like mangrove edges and that sort of thing, then this 3.5 inch can also be rigged on that hidden weight system jig head. So that's on a 1/12 ounce 1.0 there, which is perfect for picking the edges and working the flats and that sort of thing. And there I've got it on a 1/8 in a 2.0. So that now becomes, where this here with our 1/12 1.0, we might be targeting brim and that sort of thing, we can put on that 1/8 2.0 and we've now got a deadly bass presentation to flick in around the snags and just drift down there naturally, or even target our flatties on the flats and on the edges as well. So that's the hidden weight system with that GrubZ. And because that GrubZ has got so much action in that tail, you know, it doesn't take a lot of weight at all to get that tail moving. So you can present this plastic very, very subtle on a light jig head and hold it up in the water column, or you can weight it heavily and get it down and fish deeper water and structure and that sort of thing. It responds well to most retrieves, and it also responds well to light head or a heavy jig head. Another option, our Revlocks. So the Revlocks has that blade on the bottom there. So we've got our action from our curly tail, and we also throw in a bit of flash and vibration from that Revlocks underspin style jig head. And there's different blade options in that there as well. So you can see that's on a 1/8 1, that's on a 1/4 1.0, and this guy's on a 1/4 2.0. So again, that is that Headlock's HD hook in these Revlocks. So our sizing again is that size 1, size 1.0, and that size 2.0 for our larger species that we're targeting. And in terms of blade options, on our Revlocks, there's the option of the silver or the gold. So some anglers prefer the gold in dirty and tannin stained water, and they prefer that silver in clear water conditions. And then there's a Colorado, which is the rounder blade, or our willow blade, which is the longer, thinner blade. The Colorado will turn at a slower speed and generally fished a lot in the freshwater, but can be fished in the fresh and the salt. But it'll spin at a slower speed. Our Revlocks with our willow, that willow spins at a faster speed and also will dive deeper, won't pull the plastic up, slow the plastic down as much as the larger Colorado wider sort of blade does. So slow and higher in the water column a lot of the time is the Colorado, and then get it down there, run it fast, cover a lot of ground is the willow option in that gold, or the nickel in the silver. And we can also add flash and vibration through a jig spinner option as well. So our 3.5 inch GrubZ, lots of action in that curl tail, add that flash and vibration, and that makes a deadly presentation for bass, yellowbelly, Saratoga, redfin, a stack of other species. So it's basically like a wire coat hanger, stainless steel wire frame. We've got a clip on one end that clips onto our jig head where we normally tie our line. Our line then ties to that little middle attachment point there, and our blade spins at the top. So the plastic runs down low, the blade spins at the top, and it also works excellent for keeping weed and snags off your jig head as well if you roll that through structure a bit. Also available in a HD version, so heavy duty version for people chasing things like sooty grunter and that are pretty brutal on those jig spinners. So jig spinner, another way to add flash and vibration to your presentation. And then we can also fish our 3.5 inch grubs weedless. So in terms of a weedless jig head option, the snake locks and chin locks finesse both fit this plastic quite well in terms of that grub body. So there you go, that's on a 1.0 light and also on a 1 light. So that's the two sizes that we will generally fish that on. The size 1 and the size 1.0, and that 1.0 comes out right at the end of the plastic near the tail. So why would I want to fish this plastic on a chin locks with no weight? That tail flaps around on the surface beautifully. So this is a great plastic to flick in around lilies, weed beds, reeds, and that sort of thing for bass, Saratoga, and those sorts of species, and run it across the surface. Otherwise, you can also use it as a larger surface profile in the salt for chasing brim and those sorts of things and getting them to feed off the top as well. So yeah, really nice Elastec material, so it's buoyant, it's 10 times tough, so you can sort of float it on the surface and you can push that along. Its flat face will push a bit of water in front of it, and that tail flaps around and creates a lot of activity. So that's a good one just to pitch up into the mangroves, or pitch up into the weed or lilies or reeds and prospect what's in there. And then on our snake locks finesse, again, we're rigging with a 1 or a 1.0 in that snake locks finesse, and we can clip that plastic off and on. We can clip that head off. So we've got our range of head weights available. You've also got that range of hooks available. So you can buy a few different packets of snake locks finesse, and you can mix and match as you need to across your range of plastics. You know, that goes right down to a size 4, which will fit a 2 inch grubs, right up into a 2.0. So a 1 and a 1.0 are the magic sizes for our 3.5 inch grubs, and we can clip that off and on as we need to, so we can fish it unweighted, or we can clip one of our heads on there and away we go. Being buoyant, again, that head weight is going to sit on the bottom, that tail's going to get up and move around, attract fish to that lure and trigger strikes. So there you go, the 3.5 inch ZMan 10 times tough Elastec grub, a bit of an all-rounder. Will catch a stack of different species from your brim and your bass and your flatties through to larger predatory species as well, jacks, snapper, and those sorts of things. Available in a great range of colours, and there's a myriad of options in terms of rigging that plastic to suit your conditions and the target species, whether you're fishing the surface, whether you're fishing down deep, whether you're fishing for finicky feeders in clear water, you're fishing dirty water, or you're wanting to fish that plastic in heavy snags, fished weedless. So there you go, 3.5 inch grubs from ZMan. Check it out. All the best with the fishing.